Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a transfer update because Sunderland, while they aren't being hot in the market right now, there are a few links going around. I want to talk about some of them new, some of them old, some with slight updates to the story. So let's dive in. So firstly, the one that caught my eye today was Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Initially, I sort of looked at this one with a bit of trepidation, it's fair to say. I think his injury record and his goal scoring record over the last few years hasn't been the best. 17 Premier League goals in 92 games while also battling injuries pretty much over the last 4 seasons. Back in the 2019-20 season and the season after 2020-21, Calvert-Lewin was one of the best strikers in the Premier League, it's fair to say. He netted 29 goals in 2 seasons, but he was just a traditional number 9, somebody who could do a lot of things, good in the air, quick, decent finish. You had a lot of those tick boxes that you'd want from a striker, but since then it's just been a bit of a nightmare for him, which has concluded with Everton releasing him. And considering Everton, aren't the best team in the Premier League, it's fair to say right now, it shows that he's fell out of favour there. And he has been linked with other Premier League teams. Villa have been linked with him, Newcastle, Leeds, pretty much any team that sort of needs a striker has been linked with him. But we still sit here in August and Dominic Calvert-Lewin is on the market as a free transfer still. But I think the issue with Dominic Calvert-Lewin isn't whether or not he's a good player, it's just the injuries and whether or not they've impacted him, even on the mental side and the physical side. It just feels like he's constantly, had those niggles going on and on and on. But he's still just 28 years old. He's a physically strong player. He did play quite a bit for Everton last season, even though he didn't score many goals. And I think the question really is if Sunderland are looking at Dominic Calvert-Lewin, are they looking at him to be a star striker, somebody who plays every single game, somebody who's going to lead the line for them, or are they looking at somebody who can be sort of a complementary piece to their forward line? We know they've got Eliza Menda and Wilson Isidore. They've also got Mark Gui coming in from Chelsea, waiting for that one to be confirmed. So this would probably be the final piece in the striker puzzle if this is what they were to go for. And I think as well, it's the costings of this. For me, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, it screams a pay-as-you-play deal, even though not many players will sign them. It also potentially screams just a one-year deal, I think both parties would benefit from that. Dominic Calvert-Lewin would have the chance to play a lot of minutes for a Premier League team if he signed a one-year deal, and I think Sunderland would get the chance to get a Premier League experienced striker for 1 year and see where it goes from there. And I think for Calvert-Lewin, if he does really, really well, then Sunderland give him a new contract, or we just, wave goodbye at the end of the season and he gets another move. And if it doesn't go well, Sunderland have got low risk there. It's just a 1 year deal and, they don't have to worry about it beyond that. But obviously for Calvert-Lewin, there is far higher risk with taking just a 1 year contract, because if he doesn't prove himself, then he will be struggling to get a new club next summer. So I don't know what he will want, and I suspect that's been the main issue in him negotiating new deals, is the type of contract, because clubs don't want to saddle themselves with a 5 year deal for Dominic Calvert-Lewin to get the last 5 years of Dominic Calvert-Lewin at Everton. That wouldn't be good enough. So I think he's going to probably have to settle for a shorter term deal, or certainly some sort of contract which has got incentives around, minutes and how much he's going to play. So my view on this one is that I think I'd be surprised if Sunderland went for this. It doesn't seem to fit the mould of what they're doing. I can see the logic in it, getting an experienced striker in there with an inexperienced group. So I can see why they would potentially look at Calvert-Lewin, but I just don't know if he's the right fit. I also think Reggie Libri would probably get the best out of him, and I think Sunderland have done a really good job of rehabilitating players over the years. Patrick Roberts is an example there, who came to Sunderland at a low ebb and they rebuilt. Jack Clark was a player they did that with as well. Alex Pritchard, another one who, probably wishes he'd never left Sunderland. So there are reasons to think why it could work, but I think unless it's going to be a 1 year deal or a pay-as-you-play contract, or even, a 2 year deal with a get-out clause after 1 year, I just don't think that this is a move worth taking a risk on right now. So that's my view on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Then we've got Loïc Badé. I think that's how you say his name, so apologies if that is wrong. This transfer feels very, very, very ambitious. He's been linked with a lot of top clubs in Europe. He's a centre-back. He's got, a lot of traits that we would like. He's a very good passer of the ball. He's a good carrier of the ball. He's good aerially. He's physical. Those are the things that Sunderland obviously want from a centre-back. He's a brilliant age. He's 25 years old. He's played a lot of games for Sevilla in Spain. So there are reasons to think that this would be a good move. £30 million apparently is the price tag, and I think Sunderland probably do have that spend on a centre-back. You think Habib Diarra came in for £30 million. I think Sunderland have that sort of budget to spend on top level players who they think are going to be massive difference makers. So I don't think the fee, obviously you'd want to try and get it cheaper than £30 million, but I don't think that's going to be a stumbling block. If that's what they have to pay and this is the guy they want and he wants to come, then I think that, £30 million is money they have there to spend. I think if you look at sort of red flags, he had a loan spell at Nottingham Forest where he didn't play a game a few years ago. Since then, though, he left Forest, joined Sevilla, and he did, he's done very, very well there, which is why we're at the point now where we're saying he could be moving to a top-end team in Europe. But I do think that, you have to look at that. He didn't settle in England particularly well when he was last here. So is that an issue when you look at him? He's also currently nursing an injury. Now, whether or not this is just to keep him fit for a potential transfer, it could be that, but it could also be that he has got an injury going into the new season, and is that an ideal thing to do? We've seen Sunderland sign players with injuries going into a new season, and it hasn't necessarily worked. Salis Abdul Samad being the prime one who we brought in last season on loan, and he was injured, and we just didn't really see the best of him. So my view on this one, I think that this would be a good signing for Sunderland. I think this is exactly what they need. They want a physically strong and good ball distributed centre-back. He ticks those boxes really, really well. There are other teams sniffing around, so it's a good thing in some senses that other teams want him, but also means it'll be difficult to do. And I think Sunderland can look at maybe a Granit Xhaka and think, well, if we can convince Granit Xhaka to sign, maybe we can convince this guy to sign as well. So I don't think this is an impossible deal, and I think this is one where if Sunderland do get the green light, they will go heavy on it because it feels like somebody who would fit perfectly into what they're trying to do right now. And last one to talk about here, this has been a bit of a saga, it's been going on for a while now. Jhon Lucumí, looks like Bologna and him are having discussions at some point this week to resolve his future. Bologna want to keep him and have offered him a new deal. Looks like he wants to leave. But this one's been a saga that's been going on and on and on. And it feels like there's no end in sight. And Sunderland need an end in sight because they need the centre-back in before the start of the season. He's had 3 really good seasons in Serie A. He's a good player. He's ready to move on. He's 27 years old. He's an ideal age. Looks like he's going to cost similar to Badé. So maybe it's one or the other. Maybe Sunderland can afford both. I'm not sure. But this feels like a transfer which Sunderland they definitely must be interested. There's been a lot of chatter around it, and I think it would tick boxes for them. He's a similar mould to Badé, in terms of how he plays. Probably a bit more physically and defensively strong, but maybe not as good with the ball. But yeah, it's an interesting move, and it's a one I think Sunderland are definitely keen on. My view on that one is much the same as Badé. Sunderland need a centre-back in, and this guy feels like he would tick a lot of boxes, and he would give them a proper centre-back to go alongside Dan Ballard. 27 years old as well. He's not really had any issues with injuries over the last few seasons. So there are reasons to be optimistic if this one was to happen. But again, there are a lot of teams tracking him. And if he becomes available, it'll be a case of can we convince him? Sometimes it's worked, but then you look at Petrovic who went to Bournemouth. Sometimes it doesn't work. And sometimes players want another project. And it looks like Bournemouth are a team we are potentially competing with for both of these players. Anyway, let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe as well. And let me know if you want to see these types of videos more where we look at potential transfers and what are the drawbacks and the good things potentially. What are the red flags and what are the green flags? But thanks for watching, everyone. Please comment as well. Let me know what you think and if there's any players that Sunderland should be signing who haven't been linked yet.